As the Earth's climate changes, the ocean's tides rise, and huge swatches of land are eroded, many of the planet's major coastal cities are predicted to fall at some point in the future. But this isn't just a modern occurrence, as many famous historical cities have already fallen prey to the relentless encroachment of the ocean. Forget the mythical city of Atlantis, we're going to look at Cleopatra's lost underwater kingdom, the oldest underwater city ever found, and another submerged settlement which disputes the former's claim. This is our list of 7 submerged cities and settlements. Number 7. Fuxian Lake. Fuxian Lake is a 212 square kilometer body of water which stretches over 3 separate counties in southwest China. And for centuries, locals who lived on its shores told of the strange sights they had witnessed within its waters. Reflections of buildings which weren't there, odd shapes submerged within the lake, and the eerie outline of what seemed to be a ghost city were all reported on a regular basis by residents who may have been drunk. But nevertheless, in 2001, a team of archaeologists led by Ging Wei decided to investigate, and when they did, they found the remnants of an ancient city. Flagstone streets, full standing walls, all were found within a lake where people had sailed and bathed for centuries, oblivious as to the secrets it held within. It was believed that Gang Wei and his team found a place known as Dayang County. Dayang County was known as being home to highly advanced individuals with a high level of culture, until it inexplicably disappeared sometime around 86 BC. What happened to these strangely advanced people? Perhaps future explorations of Fuxian Lake will find out. Number 6. Heracleion. For centuries, many have believed the ancient city of Heracleion was a myth consigned to the realms of fantasy along with Atlantis, Valhalla, and wherever the Little Mermaid lived. Heracleion was mentioned in the works of the Greek historian Herodotus as somewhere visited by Helen of Troy, but in Greek mythology, she was the daughter of Zeus, so this didn't really help lend the city an air of credibility. However, in 2000, a survey of the Egyptian shoreline, led by Frank Goddio, found evidence of this legendary city in the Abu Qir Bay, and a more recent expedition in 2013 uncovered a tremendous haul of stunning artifacts. The treasure trove of old coins, inscribed tablets, and huge sculptures uncovered were spectacular enough, but they pale in comparison to the astonishingly intact temples and whole fleet of ships found in this former port city. Heracleion, which was also known locally as Thanis, hails back to the 12th century BC and was not only an important trade outpost, it was also the inauguration site of the legendary Queen Cleopatra. Known throughout history as Cleopatra's Lost Kingdom, the site has spent over a millennia and a half underwater after sinking sometime around 200 to 300 AD. Only a small area of the city has so far been investigated, which means there could be plenty more waiting for us at the bottom of the Mediterranean. Number 5. Shenzhen. Whilst some of the cities on this list were mysteriously lost to the ocean deep, we know exactly what happened to the Chinese city of Shenzhen. The government flooded it on purpose in 1959. Despite being over 1,300 years old, the Chinese government decided that the building of Xi'an Dam was far more important, so each one of its 300,000 citizens were relocated, and this fascinating historical city now sits under 40 meters of water. But if you think that put a stop to Shenzhen's tourism industry, then you're wrong. Because in 2001, China sent a team to investigate, and they found that the city was extremely well preserved, albeit a little soggy around the edges. It has now become a popular destination for tourists who wish to investigate the beautiful architecture submerged beneath the water, although if you want a souvenir t-shirt, you may end up having to barter with an octopus. Number 4. Pavlou Petrie. At nearly 5,000 years old, the city of Pavlou Petrie is the oldest underwater settlement humanity has ever discovered. And after sinking sometime around 1000 BC, these aquatic ruins provide a fascinating snapshot into Stone Age life. The city is located just off the coast of Laconia, Greece, because the Mediterranean sure loves its sunken cities, and was first discovered in 1967 by Nicholas Fleming. Amazingly, for a late Neolithic settlement, the city was extremely well planned, and when mapped by a team of Cambridge archaeologists, it was seen to contain streets, homes, temples, tombs, and even a complex water management system running through most of the city. There are some modern-day cities which can't provide their citizens with clean water and sanitation today, Yet the Greeks were doing it 5 millennia ago. Work is still ongoing to determine exactly what the city was used for, and also its true name, as Pavlou Petrie merely refers to the modern-day beach area and islet nearby. But what we do know is that the remnants of the city were visible during the lifetime of Plato, and with its buildings only partially submerged, there are some who believe it served as an inspiration for his writings about the lost city of Atlantis. Speaking of which, number 3, the Russian Atlantis. Phanagoria was a huge Greek city located in modern-day Russia's Krasnodar Krai region, and whilst some of its ruins can be found on land, approximately a third can be found at the bottom of the Black Sea. This underwater city has proven a little more difficult to explore, as most of it is also covered with sand. But the areas we can see include port structures and part of the city's necropolis. So when you've got a giant underwater graveyard that might be filled with ancient Greek aqua zombies, who do you send in? Why, Vladimir Putin, of course. Putin famously went scuba diving within Phanagoria's ruins in 2011, and whilst he would have seen many interesting marble plinths and decorated burial chambers, even Putin wasn't tough enough to beat out the city's greatest secret. Phanagoria was a thriving port community for 1500 years, but it was completely abandoned around 1000 AD, before a third of it sank a few centuries later. Nobody knows why the citizens left, but perhaps the answers lay somewhere on ancient artifacts within the ruins submerged by the Black Sea. Number 2. The Missing Welsh Palace. An old Welsh legend tells the story of a legendary 6th century prince known as Helen of Troy, whose kingdom straddled much of the modern-day North Wales. The tales mention how Helen had a giant palace built in the area today known as Conway Bay, but it was destroyed after a storm struck the area and it became flooded by the sea, completely submerging both the palace and surrounding city. Most people believe this story to be nothing more than a myth, but geographical surveys of the bay have shown an oddly formed land ridge 2 miles off the coastline, which some believe could be the remnants of this supposedly mythical settlement. Geologists claim the ridge is naturally occurring, and the world has been fooled before by spookily angular rock formations found at the bottom of the ocean, but submerged structures such as walls and buildings have been discovered nearby, and have proven to be man-made. So could the story of Helen of Troy be more than just a folktale? Or is Mother Nature merely messing with us once more? You sassy madam, you. Number 1. The History Maker. Remember how we said Pavlou Petrie was the oldest known underwater city? Well, technically it still is, but only because archaeologists are still arguing over the age of another submerged city found in India's Gulf of Cambay. Beneath 40 meters of water, a group studying water pollution came across pottery, beads, and sculptures alongside human bones and teeth, which doesn't necessarily point towards the remains of an ancient settlement, as these guys could have just been hanging out. But the square and rectangular formations where these objects were found were deemed unlikely to be due to natural marine geological processes by marine scientists. So exactly how old might this settlement be? Well, when a piece of wood taken from the site was carbon dated by 2 separate laboratories, even the earliest estimate dated it before 7000 BC. That's over 9,000 years old. Some argue that this wood could have been a natural piece of a tree from the nearby forest, and investigations are continuing to this day to determine the true age of this settlement. But if it does prove to be as old as has been speculated, the ruins found in the Gulf of Cambay wouldn't just be the oldest underwater city, they could be the site of one of the oldest known cities in human history. What do you think? Were the people of the Gulf of Cambay the earliest known city builders? Did they even have a Starbucks? And where will archaeologists uncover the next hidden underwater city? If you can predict that, then you probably belong on our list of the 10 greatest predictions with mysterious accuracy, which you can watch here.